Okay guys, for today's tutorial I'm going to be taking you over D5 rendering. It's a fantastic program used for rendering and quick modeling services that you can attach to a bunch of other programs. What makes D5 so great is the fact that with a lot of the other rendering services, they cost money. So for poor uni students, it's a fantastic alternative that allows for not bad detailing, considering the fact that it's a free program. It's sort of up and coming and has a lot of potential. So I'm just on the home page here now. What you can do is you can do the overall download. So I've already done it for this PC. But then what you need to do as well is, depending on what program you're using, you can use the actual app and upload files into it. But one of its best features is the fact that it has these attachments. So for various different modeling services, 3ds Max, Rhino, big ones, Revit, you can use it inside these programs and sync views and update your modeling as you're going. For the purpose of this tutorial, I'm just going to open up D5 rendering. So this is the home interface here. You can open up like a series of projects you've been working on, have a look through some of the demo scenes. They have really good little tutorials on, here they've got lighting and like living rooms and etc. So it's actually worth having a look through this. I found this pretty helpful myself. So for the purpose of this, I'm going to open up the home interface. Yeah, so this is it. So it gives you like a nice little background, and one of the things that you're sort of immediately drawn to is this interface over here. So compared to other programs, particularly something like Enscape, its weather controls are very good. You can set the weather to represent different things quite easily, and it's really quick. Precipitation from rain, but if not, you can then start making it snow, taking it back to rain and adjust its strength and how much precipitation that you want to be having on the actual model. So what I'm going to do is open up a simple file. So save that. Right, so this here is for a piece of work that I'm working on where we're talking about streetscapes. And then what I want to do was sort of create a quick little diagram for this. So at the moment, all the file is separated into layers. So what I'm going to start doing is quickly start populating this with a few different materials so you guys can see D5's potential. So up here, there's the asset button. So click on this one. I'll open up these tools here. So for material palettes, they have an extensive amount of materials. They have water elements, outdoor ground. But the one I'm going to be looking for in this is, let's start with outdoor ground. So, road. How are we going to represent a road? So, asphalt. So, if you click on a material, if you click on it once, you can then come and drop it into your model here, and it'll quickly apply the texture. For the sake of just showing you guys as well, you can add and change colorings based on this little tab here, but I'm not going to do it for this for the moment. You can also change its scale, which is super helpful as well. Right, so we applied that to the road, and what about some pavement? Yeah, so we'll put a footpath in. So for the purpose of this, this was the footpath. So we apply that there. So you can see that it already starts adding some textures into this. So maybe for a bike path, we can use another asphalt as well. So if you haven't actually previously downloaded the material, what it'll do, it'll also do this quick little download here. Considering the amount of materials it's got, it's relatively quick. Um, and for their detailing, it's quite good. So I'll grab that one and I'll apply that there. Okay, so for that, and then let's add some further materialization. So what about some concrete? So we'll grab some concrete. So you'll see that when I clicked on this one here, it's highlighted elements that are on the same layer. So this comes down to your layering in your files. So if you want things to be individual, you need to separate them because it'll read them as like families. Okay, so that's applied. And why don't we add some wood? So I'll make these into representative of some bridges. A simple little birch wood. Click on that one. Okay. So, but you can see how this is slowly starting to add material. So I'm going to make that a little waterway. So it adds water in there. So one of the things that actually, sorry, I apologize. I'm just going to quickly add some. I want to make this portion over here a little bit of grass. So if we scroll down, yeah, so some grasslands. What about a little mossy green woodland for this portion over here? But you can see it like this model's come a long way quite quickly just in terms of texturizing it. We've only been doing this for a couple of minutes or so, and what's fantastic about it is you can very easily change things. Okay, so one of the features that is super important about this one is it has its assets in its model. So you have a whole series of fantastic modelings from, backgrounds to outdoor seating, but the big one's vegetation. They of course have like a whole bunch of people, etc., as well. So for this here, I'm gonna open up the nature one, and select a tree. Nope. Seems like this one's taking slightly longer to download. That's okay, but as you can see, like a fantastic range of assets here that you can use for shrubs. Like, it breaks it down to these really helpful side panelings here if you're looking for something more specific quickly. So that's been placed. So what you can do, if you click on it and like the material palette, you can come and place it on the model. So yep, there it is as an asset. So you can physically click and place them in portions. Okay, well, so now that vegetation's in there, great. But one of the really good tools, especially in like an urban design, is it has a brush tool. So I'm quickly just going to change the view here. So I'm going to go to a top perspective, just so this just makes it a little bit easier. So also, if you hold Shift and drag, that's a helpful way to move your camera around. And Shift just allows for a quicker little zoom as well. So I want to make a little riverbed in between here. So if I click on, here's a nice rock here. So I'll do this one here. So this has been applied, and you can start placing it down into the model. But what I want to do is, actually, I'm going to take this back to a perspective just so I can show you something quickly as well. It reads um, the layers quite well. So for this, the river itself is reading that as a layer. Um, so you can start placing rocks sort of alongside it. But a better feature is the brush tool. So relative to its size, you can sort of zoom in and start brushing these elements in. So this just adds for really quick generation of elements. So you can see how like I'm starting to make this riverbed look more like a riverbed, which is great. So if you find yourself making a mistake here, you use the eraser tool and you come and click over the elements that you'd like to get rid of. Yeah, okay, so elements of the riverbed added. We can then go up to some ornamental grass. So maybe we grab some water looking grass. Here you go, perfect. Yeah, so same thing as well. You can, once it's recognized one of its own elements, it'll start layering it on top of that element rather than just putting it back on the base. So you can start interacting with the elements that it's giving you. You can also generate random sizings, which is good. So that way your modeling doesn't just look like the same thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the little brush and I'm going to just brush down here. It looks very overgrown in that portion, I know. So this is it, a little closer. So intense. But you can see how this has quickly populated this initial model to start showing that waterway down there. Now, when you zoom out as well, it'll lose some of its detail, but when you actually export, it'll have it all there, so don't worry too much. Yeah, so one other thing I just quickly wanted to show as well is when adding in different features. So, this has started having some detailing. So what we'll do is we'll quickly display some people throughout the model. So looking here, and it has this fantastic little access so you can change and rotate the way that you want them walking for the process of the model. So you just quickly start populating this one. And you can see how our scenes become getting filled quite quickly. If you click on some of the assets as well, you are able to edit their detailings as well. So it's down here in cloth color. So if you use the same asset but you don't want it to look the same, you can change their clothing, which is really helpful as well. Super helpful. Okay, so we've started populating the model. So what I'm going to do is come back to this over here, and I'm going to show you guys quickly some of the effects that we were going over before. So when you start applying precipitation, you can see that it applies it to the materials that you've added. So you get, live water splash depending on the amount of precipitation you've got. You've got different colorings of the textures. So it's a really helpful little thing to make your scene seem how you want. So I like to take the exposure off, the auto exposure, because I like doing it a bit more myself. So depending on what you're looking for. So this looks like sort of that afternoon sun shower that I absolutely hate. Or you can start making it seem like a bit of like a bleakier morning. So have a play with shadows, sort of see how you go. These are all really good things to do, but you can always just turn it back as well, and then you get back to your existing exposure. So I think, but as you can see, like the overall model has come like a really long way since like there's that sort of initial point where we started, and you can populate this heavily too. You can add cars and like detailings on the ground. They have their local assets for a non-subscriber is pretty good. I do recommend adding yourself a little license. It's off the top of my head, I think it's $20 or so, and the range of assets you get fantastic. So you can really populate your renderings better. So there you have it, guys. That's our video on a little introduction to D5 and its potential as a rendering software. Thank you.